This is our first Advent retreat here, actually, in Bonnevaux. We moved into the house here just in Holy Week this year. So we're very new. That's why and the heating has only been on about 1 week, so that's why we're a little unpredictable. But I hope that the week will be a enriching time and a time of discovering the meaning of the mystery of our preparation for the Incarnation celebration, which is not only an external feast, but really it's about preparing for something that happens to us over time throughout the course of our life. So both in terms of the liturgical season and the great symbols and the great stories of the Christian cycle, but also in terms of our own personal journeys. I hope there will be a sense of discovery, and that in the silence and in the rhythm of the life and in the experience of meditating together and the experience of Bonnevaux itself, that you will be touched in some way by the mystery and the wonder of what we are talking about. So this evening I just want to keep it quite short, because I know some of you have come from across the world and some of you have been busy all day. But I wanted just to touch on a few of the main themes, really, of what I'd like to explore with you this week. Well, first of all, the place we are, the wonderful gift that Bonnevaux has become for many people in our community around the world. 900 years ago this year, a group of Benedictine monks arrived here and had been given the land by some nobleman and began to build a monastery here. And a few years after that, they joined the reform branch of the Benedictines, who were the Cistercians, which was a very exciting wave of monastic reform, monastic renewal, founded or led by that time by Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, who we'll look at in a moment. So the contemplative life has been lived here for at least 900 years, and until 1792, when the the monastery was closed by the French Revolution, and the church was knocked down in order to build other buildings here in, I think, 1850 or 1840. And when they knocked down the church, they found a cache of gold coins from the 7th or 8th centuries. We were hoping that we would do the same when we did the renovation work, but unfortunately it hasn't happened yet. But that suggests that the history of this place goes back much further than the 12th century. And I think that's significant because there is something quite powerful and tangible in the spirit of the place here. When I first came here, Giovanni and I drove in and we were looking for a center. And I think as soon as we arrived, we felt this was hitting us quite powerfully. And whether that is because of the dimension of time, the intensity of contemplative practice that's been lived here for at least 1,000 years, or whether it is also the beauty and the particular configuration of the land and this little valley that we have, this little saucer-shaped valley, I don't know, or maybe the two together. But that's one aspect, and many people who come here will say that there is a sense of experience, the Bonnevaux experience. I can say that for myself, since I've been living here. And one aspect of that experience is certainly the land, the place, the physical reality of it, not only the buildings, but the land itself. And I hope you get out and able to explore this beautiful piece of God's earth. The second aspect of the experience is the history, that sense of the dimension of time, which is always intangible but very powerful when you are in a place like the Holy Land, for example, or a sacred site where you are conscious of a connection between you and something that happened many centuries or millennia ago. And in a sense brings you into the present moment, into a sense of the sacred. So that's another aspect of the Bonnevaux experience, if you like. Again, speaking from my own experience, that is it. And the third element is the people who are living here, and the sense of community, the sense of forming a community while you're here through the rhythm of the life. And it's not about a regimen, a mechanical repetition, but a rhythm of life. And I hope that the rhythm of the retreat will also touch you in this way. We have, I'm sure you all have, a rhythm of meditation in your daily life, the morning and the evening meditation. John Mayne's great insight was to realize how much modern people suffer from the lack of this rhythm in their life. You get up in the morning, listen to the news, you rush for the train, you come back late at night, you eat on the run. Life doesn't have rhythm. You're constantly chasing, constantly shopping, constantly planning, and either in virtual reality or in physical reality. So the discovery that we can, even in modern circumstances of life, develop a rhythm of life is a great redemptive discovery. And I think the people here are very human, and we're all human together. But the gift here, I hope, is a community that is sustaining and being sustained by this rhythm of life, which I hope you will feel renewing and life-giving as well. So that compound experience of land and time and people or rhythm, I think opens us to mystery, to a mystery of reality that is not something we can put into words, but which is in a way deeper than words. We can know it, we can feel it, and we can also recognize the effect that it has on us, maybe in subtle ways at first. Just as meditation begins to, if we actually do it, if we practice it, we begin to notice, or other people notice in us and tell us, it changes. At first quite small, but increasingly significant. So that's by way of welcome, really, to Bonnevaux, which is our home this week for this retreat. And we hope that you will feel at home, and feel at home in the silence, feel at home in the rhythm of the schedule of the retreat, the times of meditation, the times of eating, the times for walking, for reading, and so on. And especially in this rare gift of silence that we have in our contemporary world. And we're having this retreat at the preparing for the beginning of Advent next Sunday. This is the end of the Church's year. And the readings of this year, of this week, are all about the end of the year. So they are full of apocalyptic language, the end of things, the coming to an end. And the ending of things is always painful sometimes, or it's always disturbing, it's always a bit uncertain, because we can never be certain what comes after an end. We go to bed at night, that's the end of the day. We can't be certain that what will happen, or if we indeed do wake up in the morning. But these reflections in the liturgical readings on the end of things are not meant to frighten us. They're meant to sensitize us to the seriousness of life, to the fact that life is an arrow moving in a certain direction. Time doesn't move backwards. This is the reality of things. As we prepare for Christmas, we'll be celebrating the beginning of the life of the incarnate Word. Well, actually, we celebrated it on the feast of the Renunciation. That was when it actually happened. But it comes out into birth, into visible reality at Christmas, liturgically speaking. And all of this, of course, is meant to symbolize, or meant to encourage us to reflect deeply upon the trajectory and the stages and the cycles of our own lives, so that we take our own life seriously, not fearfully, not solemnly, but joyfully. John Main said, to be serious is to be joyful, to be solemn, that leads to frivolity, superficiality. So being serious is the way to be joyful. So in a sense, the symbolic season of Advent begins now. The clock starts ticking, or will start ticking very soon. And if we lacked all sense of sacred time, life would indeed be a very bleak landscape. And for many people, life has time has no sacred dimension. In the past, in traditional societies, the life of work, the life of drudgery, the life of making a living was always interspersed with festivals and seasons and feasts and rituals. And we've almost lost that now. We have public holidays that might reflect an ancient sacred feast like August the 15th, but we've pretty much forgotten the meaning of Christmas or of Advent, or certainly of Advent, or of Easter, or of the individual feasts. So with that loss of a sense of sacred time interspersed with, working time, we have lost something very life-giving. And for many people, this means that life has become only a tedious cycle of work, holidays being often more stressful than work, shopping, entertainment, internet, time, problem solving, always in some way running away from a gnawing sense of incompleteness or loss. Sacred time pours a color onto this black and white unidimensional plateau. And the color for Advent is purple, which is quite a rich color. So over this monochrome world of work and stress and rushing, sacred time can pour this beautiful hue of another color to life. And with it comes a sense of expectancy, especially, of course, with Advent. Advent meaning coming towards, something coming towards us. It brings with it a sense of certainty, even within the uncertainty of life. Life is very uncertain, but we can experience a level of certainty within that uncertainty. Sacred time also brings an excitement. The excitement that a child feels as it prepares for Christmas. And maybe many of us here had that memory, can have that memory of building up during Advent with your Advent calendar, opening a little window every day or every week, I forget, to this excitement of coming towards the magic gift-giving of Christmas Day. But at a more mature level, we can experience an excitement, not just of acquisition, of getting something, but an excitement that there is an imminent revelation of reality about to happen. And I think if we never have that sense of imminence, it's an imminent event that's about to happen, and that this imminent reality or this imminent revelation that is coming, we're not quite sure when it's going to come, but it's definitely coming. And there is at the heart of it a sense that it will not disappoint us. And it will not prove to be illusory. So the sacred time of Advent, it doesn't just promise this. If we enter into the meaning of Advent, which we can do through the readings and through our reflection on it, if we enter into the sacred time of Advent, we discover that it insists that this is the case. It is an assertion, a quiet but definite, confident assertion that this is reality. And just because you've been running around and rushing and lost your sense of priorities, it doesn't mean that this imminent revelation is not coming towards you. Woody Allen said that the light at the end of the tunnel is the train coming towards you. But we can be a bit more hopeful than that. The light coming towards us is a real light. And that it insists that something or someone is about to come into our life and into the life of the world. And that this is real and it is approaching us across all the different terrains of our life. The valleys, the peaks, the dark jungles and the great savannas and the waterfalls and the rivers and whatever. Now, liturgically, of course, this is something of a game, a sacred game or play. We play the game of the sacred time, and we learn directly that which is truly real and serious in the sense of joyful, and only playfulness can really give us this taste of reality. If we're too solemn, we're too serious, we're too religious, we're too, demanding, we will, or we think that we just have to try harder, or we have to try a different technique, or whatever it may be, we soon discover that this doesn't work. Only a light touch can do this. This is something maybe we can reflect on with regard to our meditation in these coming days. I think you're all regular meditators. If not, you will become regular meditators. But as regular meditators, there's always the danger that it becomes mechanical, or it becomes, it loses the playfulness, or you evaluate your meditation in the wrong way. You think you're not successful at it, you're not a good meditator, you're not achieving all the things you should achieve. And we need perhaps to recover that childlike sense of playfulness that children bring to meditation, which is why they're able to enter into this experience of the sacred so immediately, so simply and joyfully. Whereas we seem to have to trudge our way in, and we have so much baggage, and we think we're not good at it, and we beat ourselves up because, we're not achieving what we think we ought to achieve. So we need to recover this sense of sacred playfulness, and the liturgical seasons are a bit of a game that we can play in a serious way, like children play games, but they play them seriously. So we are waiting, of course, in Advent. We're waiting to see what or who is coming. And we have to deal with the niggling doubt that nothing may come. Of course. And that niggling doubt may at times become a bitter pill, a sense of despair. And that if nothing came, nothing would make our empty waiting more lonely still. So all waiting has that risk involved. If you commit yourself to waiting in the right way, then you accept that risk. And so much of our modern life and consumerism is an avoidance of waiting. We've forgotten what it means to wait. If nothing comes, then of course we are alone. But if we are becoming less and less burdened by possessions and attachments as we wait, then the wisdom of our tradition and of all sacred traditions tells us that the waiting will be reciprocated. That if the one who is coming towards us, we are waiting for that one, then in the same way, the one who is coming towards us is waiting for us as well. It's that discovery of the reciprocal waiting that really is the meaning of the mystical marriage in the language of the mystics, or of the encounter with the living God. And that is because who or what is moving through time towards us is waiting for that encounter with us. The recognition and the embrace that welcomes the new arrival, just as a child is waited until it appears, until it is born. I was with a couple the other day who they had the baby 4 days before, and the whole household and everything about their life was totally transformed by this new arrival. And it had been a hard coming because I think she was in labor for 48 hours, and eventually they had to do a C-section. But she said to me, it didn't hurt at all. And she said the birth for her was like a rebirth. So they were waiting for the baby to appear, and of course the baby was waiting to emerge as well. So Advent offers us a season, a time, and a retreat like this offers us a time to reflect. Not just, for 5 minutes after your morning meditation or before you turn out the light at night, but to reflect continuously, several times a day at least, to reflect on what? To reflect on the Advent in your life, the coming towards, the waiting, and the being waited for. And we reflect on also how consciously are we living? Are we waiting, or are we just running around avoiding the waiting? Are we accepting the moment that we are in? Or are we fantasizing about something in the past or in the future? We'll talk more about that tomorrow. To be in the present is to wait. To be in the present moment means to wait. That doesn't mean fantasizing about the future. It means being in the present moment. But to know with the wisdom that arises out of stillness that what we are waiting for has already arrived. To reach this realization demands, of course, frequently repeated and painful renunciation of illusion and the self-generated fantasies of our imagination. Not just once, but continuously. So that's the question maybe to end this evening with, as we move into this Advent retreat. Are we waiting? Are we running away from the fear of imagining that nothing is happening and nothing will come and nothing is coming towards us? And waiting is not meant to be about thinking about what we are separated from. It's not meant to be the fear that we will never find it. The waiting here means yielding. Yielding to a more intense way of living and being. To the thrill, really, of fulfillment and the beauty of what is being born in us, what our life is giving birth to, or the birthing that is our life. So Advent is about this waiting, but it's about waiting for love. For a love that is, as we'll see tomorrow, in the past, here and now, and in the future. So let's just conclude with just a few minutes of your silence, and then we'll have an early night. So let's end with these few words from a sermon by St. Bernard on Advent. We'll take this up tomorrow. He says, "We have come to know a threefold coming of the Lord. The third takes place between the other two. So this is an ancient idea. The first coming, or the first birth of the Word, is in eternity, in the Word of God that was from the beginning, is from the beginning. And the second coming is the return of the Christ at the end of time, the end of the world. But the third coming, third birth, is between these two. And this is what takes place in our hearts. So let's pray that these coming days we can experience a little more deeply this coming of Christ in our hearts.